get to this video, can you guys please subscribe, like, and comment? I'm so excited for this journey, and I want you guys to see this journey with me. So go ahead and subscribe. I appreciate it.
The lies! There you go, this bitch.
What's up, YouTube? I'm Fitz, and I'm ready to talk. Look, I am back with another review for Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 15, Episode 7, and it's entitled Keeping It Gucci. Keeping It Gucci. So, I first want to start by saying happy Juneteenth to all my brothers and sisters out there. This celebration everywhere, celebration, confetti, you know. I love it. I love that's a federal holiday. Let's go ahead and jump in the review. If we start off with Drew. Drew is at a brunch spot. She comes in and of course she takes her seat, and we don't really know who she's meeting with. I'm assuming it's one of the girls. She ends up meeting with this guy named Rage. Apparently he is a music video director. And she wants him to do the music video for, you already know, y'all know that's her new song or whatever. And so he comes in, sit down, and it's hilarious. She kind of goes down like her resume, and she's like, oh, the last time I saw you was, I think she's like 2018. And then she goes, just when I had this Step Up. And he's like, what is Step Up? And she's just like, oh, it's the movie they had 1, 2, 3, 4. I was in the first one, and he's like, oh yeah. And I'm just like, Drew, we all know that movie. I seen the first one. I ain't gonna lie, I did see the first one. After that, it fell off. I mean, she was in the first one. I guess that's a good job for her, but it was just a stupid ass movie. So then that scene's over, and we see Sheree and Sonya meet up at a therapy spot. Supposedly they are supposed to be there to get chirotherapy. And I've heard of this. I've seen it done before. I was never interested. I guess they dropped the temperature down to 100 or 220, negative 220 degrees. And you get in there, and it's supposed to help with blood flow. I saw that also can help with weight loss. And, helps, heal sore muscles. A lot of athletes do this. So Sonya says she's familiar with it. She used to do actual cold ice baths, right, to heal her muscles after she would run. And Sheree said she had did it before. So they go ahead and do that. They go ahead and go to the back room, go ahead and start the therapy or whatever. They also bring up the fact that Rihanna supposedly said that she liked, well, I'll say not they, Sheree brought up that Rihanna said that she was a fan of She by Sheree. They showed the tweet, and apparently it was in a E! News interview, and she said she loves Sheree Whitfield. So I don't see where She by Sheree was anywhere in that, but okay. She they both high-fived and was like, and, in Sheree's confessional, she goes and says, oh, well, she's not a hater like Candy or some shit like that. I'm like, okay. And of course they go to one of Candy's confessionals talking about how, she would actually was not her confessionals, it was actually speak on it. And Candy was just saying how she was wanting to support her, but there was nothing to support. And that wasn't a lie. We all know that when the reunion aired and she, brought out the She by Sheree clothing and everybody rushed to the site crashed. But then there still was nothing to buy. So it was like, ma'am, that wasn't a lie. She was just pretty much just stating facts. But whatever, Candy is the bad guy this season, so everybody's hating her this season. So Sonya talks about her husband being in Austin more because of their booming business out there, and how, of course she brings up, they want to try for a baby and how that's not possible. It's just the same. Here's my thing with Sonya. We get it. What else this is what you've been talking about from day one, since this fucking season started. Here we are 7 episodes in, and you're still talking about the same shit. It's like, okay, your husband's not here. We understand you want to have a baby. Your family wants to move but don't wants to move. You want them to move. You don't want them to move, but your husband wants them to move. It's like, okay, that's their storyline? Ma'am, what else do you have to offer? So she talks about that, and then eventually they end up talking about Courtney's event from last episode when, Candy and Marlo got into it, and Candy's ready to choke Marlo. And they, talked about that and just how crazy it was. And Sheree just kind of like, well, I would like to throw an event for the ladies to come together, kind of a brunch, setting, and want everybody to sit down and talk and, discuss their issues with each other. Hopefully we can just, finish this on out. Everybody can go ahead and resolve their issues, and we can all be a happy Real Housewives of Atlanta family. But we know that's not gonna happen, right? So then we jump over to the scene with Marlo. Marlo walks in to a restaurant, and I must say, Marlo, like I think, like I keep saying in every fucking episode, you can't help but to give her praise in her fucking with her fucking fashion. Like her fashion is fucking on point. It's sickening. She walks in this number that just fits her nice. She looks amazing. And who comes to meet her other than Courtney? Courtney walks in, and they sit down, and Marlo did request for her margarita to be served in wine glasses. Okay, that was a little tacky, but fine. So they have their little wine glass margarita mix, and they start discussing about Marlo first says thank you for helping me expunge my my criminal background. Thank you for linking me up with the correct people, and she just says express her gratitude for that. Then she apologizes for her actions. Well, she kind of glazed over it. She just says, I'm sorry for the way things went down at your event. Courtney just says, it's fine, whatever, and then she goes to the whole situation with Candy. So we jump on over to Candy and Sonya sitting down. I guess they wanted to split these two restaurant settings. Of course, I didn't get the name of Marlo and Courtney's restaurant because doesn't matter. Whatever it is, it was some restaurant in Atlanta. And then Candy and Sonya sits down at OLG. So they show Candy sits down, Sonya comes in and sits down, and they start discussing the same conversation. And Candy pretty much just expresses her disappointment in Sonya because she feels like Sonya kind of just rides the fence when it comes down to Marlo. She feels like she kind of even more leans towards Marlo's side and is blinded by whatever Marlo tells her. Sonya then does have a good point. Sonya does say like she's not gonna allow anybody to dictate how she feels, or anybody's relationship with somebody dictate how she feels about a certain person, right? Or about that person. So I do respect that. I am a person that kind of moves that way as well. I'm not gonna side with anyone when it comes down to the next person. Now that is up for debate with the best friend, right? Like my best friend doesn't like somebody, I ain't fucking with them. You know what I'm saying? That's just loyalty in my book. And I don't think any of the ladies are that close. So Sonya, in Sonya's defense, I understand that, right? But again, you have to think about it. Sonya, I'm sure you watched the show. You've seen at least how Marlo behaves with all the other ladies, right? So it's just a matter of time before you end up being burned. And as an outsider viewing the way Marlo behaves, I wouldn't even like that character, right? I wouldn't even like the way she behaves, the way she handles Kenya, the way she handles Candy, the way she had handled Nene. Like, I wouldn't have felt, that would have made me look at her like, oh, girl. Like, Kenya can hold her own, Nene was able to hold her own, Candy can hold her own, but at the same time, Marlo is somebody that tends to just lie and make up shit. She just throw it out. Like, I'm all for a good shade or a good read if it's true. You can't be pulling out shit your ass just to throw shit out because you're just talk from your ass. Like that doesn't work, right? So that's when it makes a problem for me. And I kind of wish that Sonya would see that. And I feel like that's what Candy is like. Well, why would you want to stand with this person when you see how she is as an individual on her own merit? Like not even based off of how I feel about her. You see the way she moves. Why would you want to even be friends with her? So then, of course, we jump over to Marlo and Courtney talking, and Courtney asks, and this is when I was like, okay, Courtney, like you might actually be okay on this show. Like Courtney held Marlo accountable. She tried to, at least. Of course, Marlo do some dumbass shit, just said whatever the fuck she want to say. Courtney asked her and said, did you ever tell her about how you felt about the whole situation, about her not sending flowers or reaching or showing you, I guess the affection that you needed or empathy that you needed for your nephew passing? And Marlo goes and says, or she says, have you ever told her like in the past? And then Marlo goes and says, oh, I hadn't seen her. Now, that's not true because we saw in the clips last episode when they were helping Riley get ready, when Marlo came over to the house and was all taken in being at the main house, you had talked to her, but that was last season. And that was not even aired. That was even before they had even did like the spa day, all that shit. So you had seen her. You had a run in, your nephew died, what they said, 2020. So you had a run in, up to then. They shot this in 2022. So you mean 2 years you haven't seen Candy? That's not true. Like, that's the thing. But the problem is, and I don't know if they edited. They could have edited. Courtney could have said, "Well, you didn't. Are you sure? You know." But Courtney doesn't know the dates. I would assume like she doesn't know like the year, all this stuff has happened. She gonna see it along with us, right? So then she'll probably be like, hopefully she holds her accountable at the reunion. I would say, Courtney, if you ever see this, hold her accountable. I think that would make you be favorable from the fans, from the viewers. Like, if you hold her accountable because you are somebody that she's citing, like she considers a friend, and you hold her accountable, I think that would help you on the show, because you're watching it and you're seeing the way behind scenes how she's being. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna jump into at the end of the episode when the ladies finally do sit down. It's some more crazy shit going on, right? I got like fucking 4 pages of notes, y'all. So it gets crazy. After Marlo says no, of course, Marlo then says, "Oh, well, Candy didn't even ask me for my sister's number." Like, she felt like she should have reached out, you know, asked for her sister's number because, you know, her sister's lost a son. And my rebuttal to that is like, ma'am, you then text her a couple days later and asking about an app, a Cameo, asking her to sign up for Cameo so that you can get the credit from her signing up. Like, she probably didn't even consider that you felt that deeply about her not showing empathy. She did say she's sorry to hear that, and she probably felt like that was enough. Here's words to the fucking wise. People cannot read your fucking mind. So if you do not let them know how you feel, when you feel it, or even before you decide to react to what they've given you, like how they made you feel, how are they supposed to know? You waited until 2022 to bring it up on the new season and say you have a problem with the way she acted or handled your nephew's death, whom worked for her shortly, and she never really had interaction with him like that, because she didn't know him by first name basis, because when you said it, she was like, who? So, you know, she didn't even realize that he worked for her. So they mustn't have that close of a bond. So it just, when Marlo's like, you're just reaching for a storyline. You're reaching out for a problem with Candy. And like I said in my other reviews, I feel like Candy is a fan favorite. So Marlo feels like in order to hold on to her peach, she needs to come for Candy's neck. Which sucks because, according to Candy's Speak On It, she has helped Marlo behind the scenes. And if that was me, and that's why I think a lot of people, like, I encourage y'all to go check out her Speak On It, because it gives you a lot of light, you know. And of course, you take everybody, you know, what they say with a grain of salt, right? But Candy has never given us liar. So I feel like you can pretty much trust in what she's saying. Marlo, on the hand, we see she's all over the place. So if I was to put myself in Candy's shoes, and this is why I ride for Candy so tough, because if I was to put myself in her shoes, I would be fucking offended, and I would be fucking upset. Like, I would be ready to fucking tear down walls, because I'm trying to show you friendship and you're shitting on me, you know, and that's just not gonna work for me. And you're shitting on me on national TV. So I can't blame Candy for that, y'all. I can't blame her for that, for the way she feels. So Sonya then says that she feels like the group is divided and that, you know, she wants everybody to come together. We hop back to Marlo, and Marlo just simply says that she's not kissing Candy's ass, and they cut the scene. And we move on to Sheree's, or to talking about Sheree's event. So both of the ladies talk about the invitation and how funny it was. I guess she was talking about sausages and vaginas in the text, and, you know, let's all get Gucci. So they're all supposed to wear Gucci to the event, to the brunch, so haha. So then we bounce over to Drew's scene. We see Drew practicing for her music video. We see her, I had to get his name, y'all. We see her video director, Rage, there, and he's just pretty much like, you know, he expressed before in the brunch scene in the beginning, saying that, you know, Ralph has to be fit. Like, he needs to have the right muscles and, you know, six-pack, and if six-pack ain't right, then he can't be the lead man and all that shit, right? So they flash Ralph's being like, what? Like, I'm going to be in this video. You're my wife. So that's not going to work for me. So he, in the event that we're in the scene that we're in now, we see, you know, Drew, like I said, dancing and ready for practice. Rage is there, and she's doing a good job. But then Ralph walks in. And apparently the guy that was supposed to be her lead, whose name was Mike, can't do it. He double booked or something like that. Seems like a little storyline, y'all. So I mean, it seems like it's a little conjuring up to make a storyline, right? So whatever. I'm like, ma'am, it's your video. If you want your husband to be the leading man, who's gonna tell you no? But But and it's like, you're paying these people, so they're gonna do what you say do. But so pretty much Ralph is now in because the man can't do it. He double booked. Y'all, did y'all check out the little lady, Miss Chocolate Queen, in the practice, and the way she was eyeing Ralph when he walked in? Like, even when she was standing by him, she was like fidgety. I was like, she just thinks he's really handsome, because she was just like too fidgety for me. I'm like, this is a married man. His wife is literally right here, and you're working for his wife apparently, or working for Rage, who was working for his wife, and you're sitting here all like gushing over this man. I don't know if I'm the only one that knows that, but if y'all did, please comment below, because I literally was like, what the fuck? I thought it was hilarious. I just laughed every time I seen her, because she was just like, like nervous. I don't know what the fuck she was giving, but it was hilarious. So we jump over to Kenya's doctor's appointment. We see her in the doctor's office. Her doctor walks in, and apparently she's there because she wants to have another child. She doesn't want Brooklyn to be the only child. She says she wants her to have a playmate. I know a lot of people feel like that. I'm not a person that feels like that. I feel like it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, if God's blessed you with one child, that's just his will, whatever, Doctor then explains to her, she goes into, Kenya goes into saying that her and Mark have embryos already, frozen. This is part of their, contract while they were married, that they would go ahead and freeze some embryos so they can have future kids outside of Brooklyn. The doctor then tells her, there are a lot of health risks. You are you are a woman of a certain age, and you have to consider the options, weigh it out, right? Like, is it worth you having another child and possibly dying? Apparently, Kenya had a very, very rough pregnancy and a rough delivery. The doctor said out of her 36 years of practice, that was her most scariest delivery. So I was like, that speaks volume. Like, girl, don't do it. So, Kenya gets emotional. Of course, I can imagine it. She says no person wants to have multiple baby fathers. Because the producer asked her, well, why would you want to have another child by Mark and you guys aren't on good terms? And she's just like, well, she's single. It's not like she's, in a relationship, committed relationship, so why not have a child by the person that she already has a child by? But it's of course Kenya's choice, but I'm like, weigh it out. Kenya does say, well, she doesn't know if she wants to go that route anymore after speaking to her doctor, because she's like, what if she does get pregnant and then she dies during pregnancy, or dies during delivery, and Brooklyn and the new baby is left without a mother? So is it worth that? So now it kind of seems like the doctor kind of put some more, sense in her head, or gave her something to think about. And I would say, girl, don't do it. I don't think it's worth it. Like, you do a surrogate, use Candy Girl. Like, that I think that would probably be the better choice, because you are already a high risk. So that scene wraps up. So we arrive to the main event, Sheree's brunch, her Gucci or whatever. Let's get Gucci, whatever the hell, her Gucci event. She comes into the restaurant, and she's trying to figure out seating arrangements. Her seating arrangement that she initially had was Candy, Sonya, Marlo on one side, and of course Sheree at the top of the table, or the head of the table, and Kenya, Courtney, and Drew on the other side of the table. And right then there, I was like, oh, okay, you kind of risking it, because it's just a reach over for Candy to get to Marlo, what I'm saying? They already have, but again, it's a table, so she could be reached that way or reached that way, so it really don't matter, So she pretty much is like trying to figure it out. Cyan then arrives. Cyan's trying to help with the scene arrangement too. Cyan's just kind of like, okay, I guess it's a good scene arrangement. Let's go and get this ball rolling. So Courtney and Candy arrive. Cyan's already there. And then we see Drew come in. Instantly Candy's like, so who's sitting right there? Because of course it's her. It's Candy, Sonya, and Marlo. And Kenny's like, well, who's sitting next to you? And she's like, I guess she saw the name tag or whatever. However, she was able to tell that was Marlo. She was like, Sheree, you need to move her over there. So then she switched seats with Kenya. So of course, that happens. They haven't arrived yet. Kenya and Marlo hasn't arrived, and Courtney hasn't arrived. It's just them. But Kenny's like, let's listen to Bud before she gets here. So Drew comes in, Drew sit down and just kind of just discuss. They were just, all the women were chit-chatting, they looked cool, but, looked like it was going to be a cool time. But, for Marlo hasn't come yet, right? So Drew was just pretty much like, I feel like Marlo needs a hug. Like Marlo just needs, she's hurt. She's moving in hurt and in pain. So, all ladies kind of like, yeah. So then, of course, Marlo walks in. Now, might I add, best dressed Marlo from head to toe. Although Sonya did pretty well, but I feel like Sonya's suit wasn't fitted right. Like all the ladies had on Gucci, but some of their attire wasn't correct. I'll say Candy's. No, Candy had on like the basic like I don't know fuck. I just didn't like her look. Kenya came in and Gucci, but of course you couldn't tell it's Gucci. And we all know that Gucci is very obnoxious. In my opinion, I think Gucci is extremely obnoxious. They always have that print somewhere or logo somewhere on them or their clothes. So the fact she walked in with something that you couldn't really tell was Gucci, it kind of was like, oh girl, But best dressed hands down was to me Marlo. Marlo looked amazing. Marlo also makes a little joke and says that she feels like they look like a bootleg girl group. So I thought that was hilarious. So Sheree says, she says, okay, let's go and get it started. She kind of wants everybody to say, who they have a problem with and how we can resolve it. Sheree just kind of says like she wants to bring everybody together. That was her whole goal of having this brunch. She'd like for everybody to resolve their issues. Pretty much what she said told Sonya in the beginning, right before when they first sat down. So they start off with Candy and Court. So Candy and Courtney, sorry y'all, one of my good friends' name is Courtney. So Court, it comes to me, but Courtney, Candy and Court, they sit down and or they talk about their issues. Sheree says, "Okay, Candy, talk about you and Courtney's issues, or whatever." And Candy just pretty much just is like, "Yeah, I feel like it was a misunderstanding." Courtney is just like, I feel like you coming to my event was an olive branch, and Candy then says, "I appreciate you coming out, check on me." Last episode we saw when, Candy was hot with Marlo, Courtney did come out and say, "Are you okay?" Just to make sure she's good. So she said she feel like their shit was petty anyway, misunderstanding, so they can move forward. And then next we have Sonya and Kenya. Sonya starts with saying that she feels like Kenya was wrong for telling her back in Alabama that she could go home. When she said, "Well, you can just go home," she can go home. She felt some type of way about that. She said she feel like she, has been a loyal friend to Kenya, and for Kenya to say that, it just rubbed her the wrong way. Now, I'm just going to direct right here. I'm just kind of thinking like, okay, y'all all know she ended up going to the hospital, right? It doesn't, I'm a person that thinks about if it was me. Like, it's nothing wrong with asking your friend about that, but I would think it needs to be called to the floor in front of a group. I think that she could have asked Kenya about it separately or through a phone call or whatever. Because we know Kenya wasn't feeling well, right? She ended up going to the hospital. Like, clearly that was like, it was like the next morning that she ended up not being there, whatever. At least that's the way they shot it or aired it. It appeared that she literally went to the hospital that next morning. So I wouldn't have held it against her. I would have been like, okay, maybe she just wasn't in her right mind, right? Maybe she just wasn't feeling well, So that's why she was so snappy. But then Sonya says that, and then Kenya's like, well, I don't trust you. I'm like, oh shit, Kenya. Fuck. Kenya's just like, well, I'm just going to be 100. Kenya's like, I watched What Happens Live, and the question was asked about my booty, and the fact that you are my friend, and you said that after Marlo told you to look at it closer, you kind of are questionable about it. And Sonya and Kenya was like, well, that's what also makes me feel like you always side with Marlo. Same thing Kenny said. And I'm like, damn. Sonya then says in her confessional, like, well, she's not the doctor. She's not a doctor. She doesn't know what what a booty supposed to look like. She just it looks a little. She don't know. She like, don't take it, that to heart. And although Kenya, I feel like is being sensitive, of course, it's your ass, whatever. I mean, if it's fake, I feel like if it wasn't fake, you wouldn't take it so to the chest, right? If it was fake, you'd be like, if it wasn't fake, you're like, bitch, no, this is really me, right? But because it may allegedly be fake, you are more like, oh my God, people are noticing and talking about it. So that's why you're being so sensitive about it. Sonya just says, no, that was her intent. She did not mean to hurt Kenya by that statement, But Kenya then says, well, now we'll just have to wait and see if you're worthy of a true friendship from me. And Sonya's like, is that being shady? And it's so funny because I feel like me and Kenya kind of have the same wordplay with shit. Like we say things not trying to be shady or not trying to be malicious, but sometimes it can be taken that way just because we just say it. You know, I do try to be considerate of people's feelings, but at times I just say shit. I just say how I truly feel, and it can get me in trouble sometimes, and people will be like, you're kind of mean, you know. But no, I don't think people think I'm mean. I think they just think that I'm just like, I could be a jerk sometimes, and that's just me being 110. All right, so let's go on to the next person. This ain't about me. This is about them. Okay, so now we are going to talk about what we are here for. The ladies are ready to talk about it. What Sheree is like, okay, y'all little foreign women have talked. Now let's go and bring Marlo in this mix, because everybody don't like Marlo. Well, most of the ladies don't like Marlo. So she goes, can we resolve issues with Marlo? She doesn't even say Candy and Marlo, but instantly, we all know what she's talking about. Marlo, Kenya start going back and forth, of course. They just start having that little banter. Candy's like, you're not genuine, Marlo, you're not genuine. Marlo's like, oh, well, the issue that I have, and then she's like, hi, everybody's talking over me. And this is, she's like, fuck Marlo, like, okay. She's like, everybody's talking over me. Candy, can you stand up so me and you can talk? And Candy's like, no. Candy's like, I'm cool. Because, you know, Candy already, she wear her heart on her sleeve, so you know when she have an issue. So Marlo's like, the problem is that you did not call my sister. You did not reach out to give any flowers. You did not. And then Sonya interjects and says, yes, Candy, you're not understanding where Marlo's coming from. And Candy's like, wait a minute. Candy's like, Sonya, I don't need for you to be her lawyer. She's like, I completely understand where she's coming from. She's like, it's bullshit. She's like, fuck her flowers. And I'm like, dude, it's like, they're like, literally like, I understand. Like, Marlo has literally changed her story, has tried to push it. First it was about, oh, my nephew met somebody at Candy's restaurant and the person ended up killing him. Then it turned into, no, I'm upset because Candy wasn't sympathetic to the situation. Then it turned into, my family was mad because Candy didn't reach out to me about, or them, or send flowers about, you know, when my nephew passed. And Marlo, it's just like, girl, you were reaching. Like, you're reaching for shit. You know, you're reaching to try to, like, create this issue with Candy. And it's like, for what? Like, that's not her. She doesn't have anything to do with it. And Candy did say, like, anybody would be upset with being connected to a murder. And that's pretty much what she's trying to do. She's trying to connect me to her nephew's murder. And it's like, and for Sonya to act like she doesn't understand that, like, that's what she's trying to do. And if Sonya may not feel like she's trying to directly connect Candy to the murder, she's trying to directly connect her restaurant, which is her. You know, that's her restaurant. That is her brand. If you're sitting there saying that, like I said, initially it started off that her nephew met, her nephew worked at OLG, OLG, which was true. And he met the guy there that killed him. Like, that's tying, like, seeing like OLG has an issue. And that's not what the situation was. The roommate had no connection that ended up, unfortunately, you know, killing RIP, her nephew, had nothing to do with OLG. So that is, I feel Candy like, fuck you, like, you were really trying to try me. So they just kind of go back and forth. They're just like, you know, Marlo's like, these girls are just trying to, you know, not understand me. They don't get me. They don't understand. I'm just trying to say that Kenny's not being held responsible, you know. And that's just like, what? Okay, so what? Because then also, I want to jump back into that situation. Like, she talked about Candy. She felt like Candy was just using the show as publicity. So, but what does it have to do with your nephew being killed? Like, what does that have to, like, you just want to have a problem. Like, you were trying to find something that everybody will amen and can be upset at Candy about. And it's like, it's not working because it doesn't make sense. So then Marlo storms out the restaurant. She gets up and walks out. You know, what I would say with Candy, or what Kenya actually called her. Kenya called Marlo, what she said, a bottom rung bitch. Like, what's a bottom rung bitch, y'all? Like, can somebody please let me know in the comments, a bottom rung bitch? What does that mean? I was just like, what the? But it's hilarious because, like, bottom bitch, like, damn, she's low to the home, I guess. So of course, you know, Marlo's, like I said, she walked out the restaurant. She didn't run. She walked out. You know, she acted like she was going to the bathroom. Sheree does get up and go out and try to find her. And she asked the producer, she's like, where did she go? And they're like, she walked outside. So then she, you know, she talks to Marlo, and Marlo's just like, you know, Candy is selfish. She's just selfish. She's so selfish. She does not care about anybody but herself. She's selfish. And I'm just like, y'all, what the fuck? Y'all playing to this. And Sheree just like, okay, Marlo, like, I'm gonna tell. And Marlo's also like, Kenya won't let me talk. She just keep on going on. And, Sheree's like, I'm gonna tell Kenya to stop talking. So, of course, they usher themselves back into the room. And I'm like, the temperature's not gonna change, y'all. Like, you might as well let Marlo had it going. If she was willing to walk away, she was done talking. Marlo's claimed that her therapy was working, her life coach was working. You know, that's why she got up and walked out. I think that probably would have been the best idea for her to just get out the restaurant. So then she comes in there, and she's just like, you know, fine, you know, whatever. Sheree's like, I guess we're not gonna resolve this situation. Like, thank y'all for coming. I'm sure the restaurant, I feel like the restaurant maybe told the producers, like, y'all gotta cut this, because they start yelling, it start getting very loud, you know what I'm saying? It's still a restaurant. So I feel like they probably were like, okay, enough is enough. So Sheree was like, let's wrap this up. Thank y'all for coming. I tried. Sheree then says her confessional. She's proud of herself. At least she was able to get, you know, couple. She was able to get Courtney and Candy situated. And she was able to get, well, she really didn't get Kenya and Sanya. I guess she kind of. They at least said how they felt. Kenya and Sanya situated. So that's pretty much it, y'all. Please make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe if y'all enjoyed this review. It was a very long review. When I sat back and like looked at my notes, I was like, damn, it was a lot going on, because with a lot of back and forth, y'all. But I appreciate y'all for whoever stayed and stuck it out with me. All right.